Welcome everyone to our first town hall. We're excited that you are all here, and we just wanted to take the time this morning to say thank you to all of you, our generous donors who make all of our programs possible, and especially after such a difficult year in 2020. So because of all of you, we were able to continue our mission without stopping, and we are very grateful and wanted to share some exciting updates about how we made that work as well. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Christina. I'm our donor relations manager, and I'm going to hand it over to Lauren, our founder and executive director, to share how COVID impacted our programs, how your generosity allowed us to continue moving forward, and then we'll take a look at 2021 and beyond. All right, Lauren, why don't you get us started?
Thanks, Christina. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning, and welcome to those people who are going to be seeing this after the fact on the recording. So I echo Christina's gratitude, of course, for all the support you provided in 2020, which was certainly a year like no other. As most of you know, Melissa challenged me before she died to use what I had learned from her to make a difference, to make things better. And year after year, wonderful folks like you helped me keep that promise. And I am very, very grateful. So we started 2020, our 20th year, with great fanfare and high expectations for a year of celebrations and exciting new programs, one of which was to expand our nutrition programs and enlarge our kitchen, thanks to a generous grant from the Daisy Markey Jones grant. And that kitchen is where I'm sitting right now, for those of you who haven't seen our new space. So renovations began in early March of 2020. On March 12th, we held a parent program, and on March 13th, the Siegel Center shut down. So the walls came tumbling down and the doors closed all at the same time. Everyone at 1330 Cancer Connect, like everywhere, started working from home with more questions about the future, certainly, than we had answers for. So we immediately set 3 goals. 1, to continue supporting our teens and young adults with cancer. 2, to keep the 1330 team intact. And 3, to sustain operations. To meet those goals, we adopted 3 broad strategies. First, to be agile and innovative. We quickly pivoted to virtual peer programs, with the first Zoom program delivered just 2 weeks after shutdown. Steve and Megan did a great job learning all the tricks of Zoom. Christina, Caroline, and Katie immediately reimagined our signature fundraising events. So the annual Bandana Bolt 5K in June was redesigned as a virtual event, as was Journeys, our annual celebration of living. And I know many of you enjoyed the magic of Journeys in November, thanks to a wonderful team of creative folks who offered to help. That virtual performance of the kids, you have to admit, was pretty innovative and pretty amazing. If you missed Journeys, that video is on our YouTube channel, so go check it out. So our second strategy, I am very proud that we were able to keep the entire 1330 team employed when many were forced to furlough or terminate staff. We did this by staying focused on our key priorities and taking advantage of the many employment benefits extended through the CARES Act. First, everyone at 1330 agreed to work reduced hours. But thanks to the New York State Work Share Program, pandemic-related unemployment, and both state and federal supplemental benefits, employees' total compensation was not reduced. Secondly, we were very intentional about keeping our staff engaged and motivated while working from home. Regular all-staff Zoom meetings and constant Google Hangouts between staff members ensured that everybody stayed engaged and motivated while working from home. Despite all those pandemic uncertainties, I don't know, this team really held it together, and I was so proud of them. It's hard to believe that it's been over a year since everyone has worked full time here, but we are gradually inching back and expect to be at full speed by June 1. As a result of all of these efforts, expenses were reduced without sacrificing quality or team morale. Even our Syracuse and Rochester landlords were willing to help and agreed to my request for a 1-month rental waiver. So I was very grateful to them for that. Our last strategy, proactive and resourceful, really made a difference, thanks in large measure to you. The COVID restrictions hampered not only our ability to hold in-person programs, but also funding opportunities. The majority of grant funding on which we counted was redirected to COVID-related recovery initiatives. And our Bald for Bucks program, another major source of revenue for us, was completely disbanded as schools were all virtual. To compensate, we proactively sought and took advantage of all available stimulus packages for nonprofits. We were able to secure 2 completely forgivable PPP loans, as well as an EIDL loan with very low interest and a 30-year payback period. As you may remember, in addition, during this crazy time, we asked for your help when we believed that a very successful online crowdfunding campaign, typically begun in the spring and sponsored by the Gannett Foundation and USA Today, would not take place in 2020. As some of you will remember, for the past 2 years, with your help, we had earned the distinction of being the top national fundraising organization in our revenue range, yielding nearly a total of $70,000 in incentive grants. Each dollar donated by generous folks like you helped leverage several thousand more. To help offset that lost opportunity, back in March of 2020, we organized our own online campaign, the 20K 20-Day Challenge, in honor of our 20th year. Doug and I pledged to make a matching donation if somehow $20,000 could be raised in that short time. And thanks to you and so many others, that number was exceeded. Well, we were surprised later in the year to learn that the crowdfunding campaign, A Community Thrives, was in fact going to be brought back. So once again, we asked for your help. And once again, you answered our call. You and over 200 other generous donors dug deep to help raise $26,000 in just that short time, which earned us an additional $14,000 in incentive grants. When this pandemic began last year, we truly believed that we would need to withdraw resources from our reserve fund in order to compensate for what turned out to be over $100,000 in decreased revenue. Thanks to you, we were able to sustain operations without diminishing our savings. So, not only did we survive 2020, but with your help, had impact in 3 broad areas that I would like to share ideas with you about. So first, financial management, starting with revenue. As you see on this slide, our revenue comes from 3 major sources: grants, special events, and charitable gifts. Grants in 2020 saw a large decrease. Only 19% of total revenue came from grants as compared to 41% in 2019. Revenue from special events, despite being virtual, was slightly higher in 2020, but that included the first Bandana Bolt 5K in Syracuse. The biggest difference, however, was because of you. 44% of our total revenue in 2020 was from charitable gifts, a 17% increase from 2019. We are just so fortunate to have such a loyal and dedicated base of supporters who, even during a pandemic, were willing to help us support our teens and young adults. So for that and so much more, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And then expenses, the flip side of revenue. This slide depicts how expenses were distributed. Only 3% of total expense was used for fundraising in 2020, a real testament to our effective use of digital promotion, and again, a dedicated donor base. 12% of total expense was administrative, both Rochester and Syracuse, leaving 85 cents of every dollar used directly for programs supporting our teens and young adults with cancer. As you can see, comparatively, there was a very small increase in the 2020 program expense ratio, again related to COVID. As you will see in the next slide, we had slightly fewer programs in 2020, but our admin costs actually increased because 2020 was the first full year of Syracuse operations. Second area of impact, program delivery. Our peer programs are focused on three broad areas that we believe best help our AYAs live their best lives. Wellness, including fitness and nutrition, expressive arts, and just for fun, social activities. COVID impacted our programs in several ways. First, as mentioned, all programs transitioned to virtual after March 2020. This change had its pluses and minuses. On the plus side, AYAs who live out of the area were able to join in many programs. It was also possible to have joint Rochester and Syracuse programs, during which Rochester and Syracuse kids got to know each other and develop new friendships. A downside of virtual programs, however, is the inability to have in-depth conversations about issues of deep importance if there are multiple participants online. We learned which topics and kinds of programs work best virtually and look forward to being back in person again. Another major change due to COVID, which impacted our programs, was the inability to visit kids in the hospital. Steve and Megan have not been able to meet face-to-face with new AYAs for over a year. Because the hospital is our primary referral source, we had fewer new kids join 1330 last year. In spite of that, we still delivered 54 programs in 2020, on average one program per week, and supported a total of 65 unique members, a small but understandable decrease from 2019. Lastly, our outreach was actually broadened during 2020. Sometimes, as it is said, necessity is the mother of invention. This was certainly true of our peer support programs, but also for our use of social media. Caroline has done a great job expanding our following on all social media channels, with particular new focus on LinkedIn as a way to keep our community partners up to date on what's happening at 1330 Cancer Connect. One new outreach initiative, which we are proud to have spearheaded, was the establishment of the Central New York Cancer Alliance. As the new kids in Syracuse, we identified a need to centralize cancer support resources. We contacted every cancer support agency we could find and asked if they'd like to join a new effort. To date, 9 agencies based in the Syracuse area have joined with the mutual goal of providing the highest level of support to cancer patients and their caregivers in the Central New York region. Certainly, 2020 was challenging, but I couldn't be prouder of our team, Club 1330, as we like to call ourselves, to have accomplished all that we did while working remotely for months and at 50% capacity for over a year speaks to the dedication and talent of these great folks I am so lucky to work with. Everybody's on the call today with the exception of Megan, who couldn't be here today. So thank you guys. You're awesome. So that brings us to today. What's next for 1330 Cancer Connect? Some new data were released recently showing that the number of AYAs diagnosed each year in the United States is now approximately 89,500, an increase of almost 10% over the last 15 years. That's one young person every 6 minutes who hears the words, "You have cancer." Every 6 minutes, somewhere in this country, a young life is interrupted. And for far too many, that interruption is forever. Our work must continue. To meet the growing need, we will continue executing the same strategies as we did in 2020. Be agile and innovative. Be focused and intentional. Be proactive and resourceful. We have designed a new service delivery model, which will draw on what we have learned about technology during COVID and help us expand our reach. With the help of a local development company, we are building a 1330 wellness app, which will house a variety of on-demand fitness and nutrition programs that can be viewed anytime, anywhere, by anyone. We will continue offering both in-person and virtual synchronous programs to members in our local region. And fingers crossed, begin offering face-to-face programs at our centers later this summer. Of course, those guidelines keep changing, so maybe it'll be sooner than that. That's what we hope. Once restrictions are fully lifted, we also intend to ramp up our efforts to ensure that 1330 Cancer Connect is as inclusive as possible, both for our AYA members as well as our board of directors. With your continued support, we will be able to help our teens and young adults with cancer truly live their very best lives. You, our special donors, make it all possible and are living proof of one of my favorite quotes by Margaret Mead, the renowned anthropologist. She once said, "Never doubt that a small group of committed, thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." She was right.